You are tuned into the Power Chord Hour right here on 107.9 WRFA, as well as the Power Chord Hour podcast, or you're watching us on YouTube. So many ways to check this out. Thank you for checking it out. I'm your host, Anthony Merchant. Very excited. We got Matty Grace making her return. We got third time on the show now. Very excited. Got lots going on in the world of Matty Grace, including a fall tour, new solo music coming, music from Crisis Party, a whole bunch. And I'm not doing it justice. We'll get filled in everything with Matty. But yeah, Matty, excited to have you on for a third time. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Thank you for having me. I realized as I was you were saying third time, and I'm like gesturing with my hands, and I'm like kind of a wrestling nerd. And so I don't know if that's a thing that you know anything, but I did the Dudley Boys hand signal. And then I just wait, no, the OK side has been co-opted by the alt-right. I can't do that anymore. And so I was just came up with another wrestling hand gesture where they use three fingers. I was like, this is dumb.
It's wrestling. Yeah, it's wrestling. I did not know that. I was not I've already learned something. Like 30 seconds into the interview, I've already learned a little about wrestling. maybe it won't be the last we talk about.
Oh, yeah. It's just the intersection of drag and gymnastics. Yeah, it's just the intersection of drag and gymnastics. And if people try to be like the people who are the most adamant about why liking pro wrestling also seem to not realize that it is one of the gayest things ever. It's just pageantry. It's awesome. It's like everything you want from entertainment. And also sometimes you watch somebody do really cool flippy shit.
I do. You are the theatrics and everything are really rad. I think it's something that I never got into because I think my mom said it was too violent when I was a child. And it was one of those things where I just never got into it later on. And I'm almost jealous of people who are, because I feel like I'm missing out on something.
It's tricky because I think my parents were just grasping at anything that they could make me make them think I was more masculine than I was. And so they didn't give a shit. And I started watching wrestling, I remember a little bit from when I was a little kid. And then as time went on, there's, the late 90s was just a plethora of if your parents gave a shit about your well-being, they would be like, you're not watching wrestling, because it was just so it was Crash Car TV. It was very Jerry Springer. It was very intense. And I was a little kid and just soaking that shit up. And so it kind of started this lifelong annoying secret. And it also gives you a wealth of ridiculous trivia.
You got to drop some more. I'm telling you, educate our asses. I know nothing about wrestling. Drop things during this interview. Drop little factoids, or also throw references in and see if I even catch it. It may go right over my head.
Yeah, I mean, okay, the only one I can think of recently is it is hilarious that Hulk Hogan is this voice of the Republican Party right now, because it's super weird. He's just doing Terry Crews's character from Idiocracy. It's bizarre. But so a bunch of years ago, he had a sex tape leak. And in the sex tape, he said a bunch of really horrifically racist shit, awful shit. And they tried to rehabilitate his image at one WrestleMania. And the wrestlers who were, affected by the things he said were just not having it. And he was trying to play it up. And they were like, nah, dude, fuck you. And so watching him say things like, I would body slam Kamala Harris or whatever, it's not surprising that that's where he's going with that.
Yeah, not a great look. I hadn't heard from him or anything about him in a while, and then that popped up, and it's yeah, not the hottest place to be in your career.
No, WWE, the big wrestling organization, had a bunch of regime change shit recently, and the thing with it that's so wild is they're trying to distance themselves from the people with really sus pasts. And so Hogan's I'm the biggest thing to ever happen to wrestling, blah, blah, blah. And they're yeah, but you're also a piece of shit, and we're trying to rehabilitate our image a little bit. So
Yeah, he's not doing them any favors right now.
No, and your listeners are going to be like, why are they talking about pro wrestling?
Hey, that's what I like about this show, though. I mean, I have questions and stuff, but hey, wherever it goes, it goes. So again, if we talk about pro wrestling for an hour, we talk about pro wrestling for an hour.
Yeah, I mean, would be a wild intersection where it's like, yeah, do you like super queer songs about feelings and punk music and also pro wrestling? There's an intersection for that. We exist.
We have the ultimate episode for you right now.
Yeah. You'll never listen to anything ever again.
It'll all be ruined for you after this. There's nowhere else to go after this.
You know what? Sometimes you got to reset your expectations after, like.
Well, I feel like this is also, I mean, there's a lot to get into because I feel like this is our yearly. We at least have like a yearly meeting with Matty, kind of catch up on like what you've been up to. I mean, we'll get into like the bigger picture, but I do want to talk to you, and we were kind of talking about before the mics were on, but rehearsals. I know I'm talking to you after you just got done practicing. How was practice tonight? How have rehearsals been lately? It was a Crisis Party, right?
No, tonight was Crisis Party has some shows coming up. We're doing a little Ontario run in September and some shows in Ottawa with friends kind of bookending it a little bit at the opposite ends of the month of September. And then we're playing a fest in Montreal called Varning, which is like a pretty cool punk fest. And so Crisis Party, we're probably going to rehearse again next week and kind of get the rust off and everything. But tonight was Rumination Year, which is originally it was full band renditions of my solo stuff. And it was kind of originally intended to be like a rotating cast, whoever was available, let's fit people in, whatever. And then I assembled this like, I got three people who are all like awesome, like funny, and the vibes are good, and they're all very talented musicians, and we all like have the same mentality of like not wanting to be the reason the set sucks. So it inherently has become very good. We had like, this is our like fourth or fifth practice in total, like as a band, and we got a set together. We're playing on it'll be after this airs, but we're playing on Friday for Pride Week in Ottawa with an all queer women Blink-182 cover band called Chick 182. Nice. And I was like, we're coordinating stuff, and I'm like, okay, this is like, cool. Do what you're gonna do. But I was like being kind of like, I was 12 years old when like Dude Ranch came out. I loved that shit. Like, so I was like, are you playing emo? Are you playing Apple Shampoo? And they're like, no. And I was like, oh, so you're just playing the songs that I don't want to hear, but it'll be a good time.
That's right. My bad. I forget we were talking earlier. Yeah, Crisis Party was not who you're playing with tonight, but you got a lot of stuff coming up with Crisis Party.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like trying to coordinate schedules and getting everything together, and like, but it's cool because when we had our first jam, I was like instantly just like, oh, this is like good. Like sometimes when you start playing music with people, there's a bit of a feeling out process, or at least I experienced that. Yeah. And then this was immediately like, okay, like, but to be fair, the drummer is the guitar player in my hardcore band, Zeal. Zeal's this like raw punk D-beat thing. We played in Vancouver for a fest earlier this year, and we put out a tape on a label called Broken Skull Records from Toronto, and that's going to get a vinyl release at some point, and we've got new material, and that's kind of like Crisis Party is like the main songwriting vehicle that I get to like conceptualize and write the things, and Zeal is like someone brings a riff and we construct it all together, and it's very like, it kind of sounds like the world ending sometimes, and like I'm here for that shit. Like it feels good. And yeah, so it was just like Rumination Year jammed, and I was like, oh, like the original intention of it being kind of like hired guns, you know, filling in whenever I had shows or whatever. And I was like, no, I want to keep this lineup. And they were like, can we give input? And like we added stuff, and it's going to be really good. We'll see how much or how little we end up doing, but like the plan is to record the set that we learned as like a live thing and maybe do a tape. And originally it's listed as like Matty Grace and the Rumination Year. The first solo tape I ever pulled out was called Rumination Year. And so I thought that was like kind of a cool nod. And I just realized that like I only want to do that for like 2 shows. And then I just want it to be called Rumination Year, and then we just like fucking go. And we'll just play the solo song. But you know, it'll be like a thing where we all can contribute our ideas. And like, you know, when I moved to Ontario, I was so fed up. I was so fed up with a bunch of stuff that I was like, if I have to play in bands with men again, they have to be the best boys. They have to have like the right politics and the right vibe. And I have to feel supported, and I have to know that they have my back if anything weird happens or whatever. And I fucking struck lightning 3 times. Zeal and Crisis Party and Rumination Year. All of those folks are amazing. Like our guitar player in Rumination Year, Greg, the other guitar player, like I've known him for a very long time. Like we played our first show together in Halifax in like 2005.
Holy shit.
Like, yeah, we've known each other for an eternity. He's been in some really cool bands, and I found out he lived here, and he's like, I haven't played a show in a while. I haven't done any music. And I was like, that's like a travesty. And so like there's kind of a nod to my past with that a little bit. And then our bass player Davey, he performs as male nurse, sometimes as like his own solo stuff, but he was in Steve Atomic band and this band Mother's Children from here. And like he and I get along really well, and like very similar in like, you know, where we're coming from with our material and songs and stuff. Like we're playing a show together as our solo bands at a bar the day before my birthday in October. And I'm like, sick. Like we could just interplay on each other's stuff now. And it's really cool.
That's really, it's neat, because I want to kind of go back to it, like what you were talking about, because it's interesting, like doing the whole thing where I'm just going to kind of get a band together and I'll get hired guns, like that idea where it's like, you're kind of the only constant. But I love the idea that it's like, no, this works too well. We can't do that. You know, have you done much of that in the past? Like, I know you have so many projects. Like, have you had any other like projects where you did kind of do the, you know, mostly hired guns, where it's like it did kind of change from show to show or tour to tour? Like, have you done much of that in the past, or no?
Not a ton. I've been in bands that do that though. Like
you were the
yeah, like I play with the Flying Hellfish sometime. They're John Creedon, who's the main songwriter for that band. They put out a record on Dead Broke a bunch of years ago called Stall, which was really good. It's like fest punk stuff. It's really fun, but like John just like has different people across Canada and the States where he just like, you know, kind of pick your poison, who's available, whatever. And then I guess this is something we didn't really talk about, but like I got tapped to play bass for Laura Jane Grace and the Mississippi Medicals for 2 shows this year.
Oh shit. I didn't know.
Yeah, pretty wild. That was a very surreal experience and very cool. And that whole crew was awesome. And like I got to play like a bunch of Against Me songs with Laura and Mikey Erg in Paris. And it was just like fucking surreal, right?
Oh my God. I did not notice that. That's fucking awesome. Huge congrats on that.
We didn't. So I can give you the outline of my time frame if you want that.
I want to hear.
But essentially, okay. So I was on my way to Montreal to see Homefront and Béton Armé and Puffer, which are all like kind of oi bands, and like that's a lot of the stuff I've been listening to a lot lately. And in the car, I get a text message from Sean Scallon, and Sean Scallon is like I've heard him described as the Canadian Ian MacKaye. Like he runs a production company called Spectrasonic, and I do shows for him sometimes. And like we've become friends. And he sends me a text, and it's like, "Do you play bass?" I was like, I do. Like, do you need a ringer? Is what I responded with. And he goes, "Oh, would your anxiety let you play 2 shows with Laura Jane Grace?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, duh." And so I said, yes, absolutely. And then 20 minutes later, I get a text. "Hey, Matty, it's Laura Jane Grace. I got your number from my management. Would you like to play 2 shows with us in May?" And so I had 10 days or 12 days to learn 25 songs or something. Like it was just like I studied my fucking ass off. And like they have this new EP coming out that's really, really good and like really cool. And I learned a bunch of the stuff from it. And I like their bass player regularly is the bass player for the Drive-By Truckers.
really?
His name is Matt. And then so Laura told me that she's like, "I saw the name Matty Grace and you'd be replacing Matt and the last name." And I was just like, "Oh, we have to do this." And so that's why she offered it to me. So I had all these days to cram the set, and like I was like, "Is there anything outside of the scope of the set that you would like me to familiarize myself with?" And she's like, "Well, what Against Me songs do you know?" And I listed a bunch of stuff, and one of them was "We Laugh at Danger and Break All the Rules," because that sounds amazing. It's and was the closer in the Against Me set for years.
Yes.
And she's like, "Oh, we haven't played that in forever. I would like to do that." And so the first time I'd ever played with her and Mikey and Paris was at soundcheck for the show in Hamilton. I played Hamilton and Ottawa, and I'd met Laura like kind of like Weekend Ads opened for Against Me many years ago, but like I didn't really have any interactions with her. And like there was some Twitter stuff where like she shouted out Cluttered, and it was really, really lovely. But like I was just like, "Oh, cool. Like I'm at the dance. Like, what's this about?" And the whole Hamilton set, the whole set is online. It's on YouTube. Somebody filmed the whole thing. For posterity, I have the entire Hamilton set to watch. And I couldn't, it's just weird because I was like, they're just people and they're lovely people. And like, I feel like it was just, I had a good time, and, I would love to like do something like that again. And if it happens, that's cool. And if it doesn't, it was like a really rad experience. And like everyone was really gracious and nice. And like, it just was sick. Like getting to play Pints of Guinness Make Us Strong and Walking Is Still Honest, and like Baby I'm an Anarchist, and I'm like flashing back to like 16-year-old me learning it on guitar and shit. Like, and so the Hamilton show, we Laugh at Danger, but we did it for the Ottawa show the next night. And we got to do Black Me Out into We Laugh at Danger and Break All the Rules. And I was like, that's the closer. That's how Against Me always ended their sets for like a while. And it was just like, it was so hot and like surreal. And Laura's road crew, like John and Lauren, they were so lovely and fucking really rad people. And John was like very complimentary, and he's seen a lot of stuff. He's been with her for a long time. And so like, it was sick. Very cool experience. Maybe it'll lead to more stuff. Maybe it won't. I held my own. I couldn't watch the video for a while because I was like, this is weird. Like, it's so surreal. Like somebody like to be like, "Oh yeah, you're just a person," but like also I've been listening to you for over half my life. Like, what is this? Like, it's so fucking weird. And I hope I like didn't fangirl too hard or wasn't too weird. I was really anxious. Like I kind of took like a bit of an anxiety attack during sound check in Ottawa. I was like, oh, I was like, and then it's like, "You okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And then I just went outside. And I was like, "Ah, fuck," because like I'm not the kind of person to. I have a very hard time patting myself on the back. if I do an okay job or if I do a good job or if I learn the thing or whatever. It's not in me to, I will acknowledge I did a good job, but I won't fully embrace the thing, because it's just like, yeah, well, what about the next thing? Like, okay, that was really cool. I still got other stuff to do, and like, I don't want to like appear, I don't know, arrogant or something and be like, yeah, I did a great job or I crushed it or whatever. And I'm really, really bad for that, like on all facets. I can acknowledge when it was like we did a good job, but like to learn like 25 songs and play a set, like a full set in front of, I don't know, in the video for the Hamilton set, she says, you know, I don't normally introduce the band. And she introduces the band. She goes, this is Matty. We have not played together. The first time we played together was at Soundcheck earlier tonight. She's like, so please consider this a full band rehearsal with all of you watching. What the all of you part that you don't gather from the video is all of you was 450 people at a warehouse in Hamilton, Ontario. Oh. And I was like the green room to the stage, there's like a mezzanine area between them. And Laura was like, I'm going to go sign autographs. She's out there and she's signing autographs and taking pictures. There's a huge fucking line. And I'm like, I just got to go outside for a minute. Like I need to take a second. And I walk out and people just started like shouting my fucking name. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, thank you. Okay. And then I ran to the green room and was just like, I'm going outside for a minute. And then fucking like scoped out and what, just, excuse me. You know, just like trying to, it was a really cool thing. I'm really grateful for Sean for recommending me to do the thing. I'm really grateful that like I didn't fuck it up as far as I know. Like it was really cool. And yeah, it was just like I couldn't have fucking predicted that. Like I was fairly unwell earlier this year. Just like brain not cooperating super well. And if you had told me then that like 3 months later I'd be doing that, I'd be like, no, you're lying. You're a liar. Like it happened and like everyone was super stoked for me. And I don't know. I still get people coming up to me like at work or whatever. And they're like, did you play with Matty Grace? I was like, yeah. And they're like, that was so good. It was so cool or whatever. And I'm like, thank you. I like kind of forget about it because I'm not dwelling on it. Like this is my one, it's, you know, my one accomplishment or whatever. Like it's very like, that was cool. I met some fun people. Maybe we can do it again down the road. Or maybe I can just like have you know, some kind of baseline cordial relationship with somebody who I had admired for a very long time. And, you know, she's great. Like she's cool as fuck. And Paris, her wife, is really funny and rad. And Mikey Erg is like, you know, fucking Mikey Erg. So I was like, oh yeah, I saw the Ergs in 2008 at INSUB. And he's like, what? I was like, I think we played together in like 2013, like at INSUB when you were in the Dopamines. He's like, holy shit. It's just like always almost crossing paths, but never like quite making a connection. And then it was like, I got to play music with him and like, it was really fun. And so, yeah, so like that was pretty wild. That was a pretty wild part of the year so far. Yeah. And then like, I had been working on this record for a while. That started off kind of as an insomnia project, and I did a lot of stuff, and then I sent it to my friend Jordy, and Jordy plays in used to play in a band called Crusades, and they were on No Idea for an album, and more long running was the Creeps, which were like an Ottawa institution for many, many years. And so Jordy, like we've been friends forever, and he's like, yeah, let's like collaborate on this. And he works in sound and, you know, is like a very, very talented drummer and has a great ear. And he helped me. Without his push, this record would have it's taken like 2 years, and without his push, it would have maybe never come out. It's a full length. It's going to be called Cheap Shame. It's like, the only way I can describe it is like, I wanted to make a like 90s emo meets like a 2010s like power pop record. Ooh. So like, yeah. So it very like, you know, there's like clean guitars and stuff, but then there's still all these like Husker Du chords on top of everything. And there's like a cover on it of like a Montreal band that existed for a short period of time that I really liked. And it's just like, it flows well. There's a couple of guest spots on it. Like Chris from Talk Show Host plays a guitar solo on one of the songs. And like Becca from Cluttered sings on everything. And James from the Hemingways and Weekend Dads like does vocals on a song. And it's just like, I had this grandiose idea to have more guests, and like I just started not being able to handle coordinating stuff, and it just kind of fell, a little bit of it fell apart, but the end result is really cool, and hopefully I can get that finished up and it'll be out sometime next year. I think I have a label kind of lined up, which is like exciting because it's gonna potentially be on vinyl, and like it's something that I worked really hard on for a long time, and it's just like I really got to finish that just so I can have the tangible thing and then move on to the next thing, which will be a record I wrote when I was unwell this year. Jordy and I are going to do a follow-up album this winter called, tentatively titled Survival Instinct Catastrophe. And it's more of, I've just been describing it as like Emosaur Jr. It sounds like Dinosaur Jr. if they were like an emo band, I guess.
You have my attention.
Yeah. A bunch of we're playing a handful of the songs, but like there's a song that I wrote, which is where the title of that record comes from, on that call. It's going to be called Apology Song. And it's like, I don't know if you're a person that suffers from depression, but sometimes when you are super depressed, you lose the ability to contact your friends and tell them you're okay. So you, like, and then unfortunately, like months pass, like, and then you're like, oh shit, I haven't talked to you in like 6 months. I'm so sorry. And then you know, you feel bad. So it's called Apology Song. And the title of that record is it comes from, there's a line in it which is tuning out from reality is survival instinct catastrophe, and I was like, that's the name of the record.
I love that when the the light bulb goes on, you're like, fuck yeah, that's there's the album title. No painting over, you know, not like sitting there and thinking of 50 names, just like, there you go, that's the name right there. You're not gonna get any better than
that. Encapsulates a lot. It encapsulates the theme of the record. Like it takes all of those things. And then like, I also got asked to contribute to this like acoustic comp. So Jordy and I put together a song. It has drums, but like it's mostly acoustic based. And that'll be out maybe by the fall. I'm going to try to put that song out sooner than later, because it's like pretty fun. First time I've written I guess it would be like a requited love song. It's not like an unrequited longing, I'm so sad thing. It's just like, hey, I met this person and she's really rad and I wrote a song about it. And it's funny because it's just like all of those things are so different. Like, you know, the cycles kind of wave through, and it's like, oh, I was doing like having a bad time. Like everything was really, really hard. And now it's like, I may not be writing as much right now, but I'm still like working on stuff and putting things out. Like there's going to be a new g.r.o.s.s demo and some other stuff. And
oh, nice.
But it's, yeah, it's written. I just have to finish the bass and it's basically done. And it's just like, yeah, I'm going to do the cutesy song next to the album that is just like crushing. Like it's hard to listen to a little bit, like, cause it's the one that's not done yet is just like oof. But I think ultimately it's relatable. Shit is really hard right now. So
you know, I kind of, as you're like talking about that and having, I think that's what I like about your music too. You do have range and you have so many different projects, and you know, each one kind of has a different style or vibe. Like, have you, I guess I'm like thinking about it, Do you think you'd have trouble if you were just in like, just say like you had one band, not like different projects, and you were trying to get all those different feelings and different sounds and stuff out? Because you're not one dimensional. I mean, we talk so much music every time you're on and you do so many different things. Do you think it'd be difficult if you had just one band, one outlet, and you had to get all these things out in one thing? I mean, do you almost think it's easier when you have these different projects and places to put everything?
I think I don't know if I could do just one project, because like there are very few bands ever to do a really like an awesome job of kind of like jumping between different themes and things on records. The Replacements would be one. Like, you know, the early stuff is way punkier and rock and roll, and then later on they kind of like learned more like standardized structures, and then it got like different towards the end. And it's like a band like that is like masterful about it, but then like I don't know, maybe something will like Zeal is awesome because I get to play as fast as I want. And sometimes I just want to go fast. And then other times it's like, that's too fast. I have too many words in this. Can we like feel the groove of it more or slow it down or something? And then it's just like the Crisis Party record is very, or like the songs for that record are very like, some of them are re-recordings from some other stuff, because we've, you know, I think objectively I sing better. And also the first Crisis Party EP, like Welcome to the Party, was recorded over the course of 6 hours, including vocals. So I just kind of was like, maybe I'll take some. Yeah, we did it in an evening. It was just like, I was like, I can finish these vocals, and I just did it. And I was like, for a first, like I should have put some more work into that.
No, that is
like record kind of follows this like theme, right? Like, so we Crisis Party played this fest in Montreal earlier this year called Yell Out Fest, and it's like a feminist punk fest. And it was like a bunch of D-beat bands, and then us, and then a band from France who was also a D-beat band. And like Zeal played, and it was like, I like doing double duty with those bands, because it's like we're all friends, so everybody's just like hanging, and it's nice. And we played, and then Crisis Party went up, and the first thing out of my mouth was, this is going to be way different. Who wants to get into their feelings? And then it was just like the band's called Crisis Party. It's not like, there's a strong will, but it's not necessarily like the most posy band. It's not the band that's going to have the PMA tattoo. But like, there's a song on that record, or that we've started playing live, called Survival. And the last line, which is hopefully going to be the end of the record, which is like kind of cool for me, is tell me now how it's supposed to be, and I'll show you 1,000 more of me. Things are so much worse than they seem. Things are so much worse than they seem. And I'm like, and that's the theme of the record. Things are bad.
That do you find like with that, I mean, it kind of, I feel like that goes with like finding the album title just in there. Like, do you kind of find yourself almost like you don't realize you're writing about a theme? I don't, maybe you do, but like maybe you don't actively realize, wow, that's what this whole album's about, or this is what I've been writing about, until you almost step back and look at it. Like maybe you don't realize why you're writing, but you're like, oh fuck yeah, all of this was kind of about this, or, you know, obviously this has been heavy on my mind lately and heavy in my writing.
Yeah, I'm a self-described slow processor, and I do a lot of stream of consciousness stuff to kind of process things. And it's only like after I'll do it, and like sometimes it'll like surprise me. Like something will jump out at me, and I'm like, oh, that was like more profound than I thought it was when I wrote it. Like the song that I was mentioning about the comp, it's called Capricorn Moon. And as I was writing the lyrics, there's a line in it that's like, I was just like stream of consciousness trying to figure out something to write for this thing. And there's a tag on one part, and it just is, you see right through me. And it's about like this like woman I love, and I'm like, oh shit. And then I wrote the line and I was like, that's incredibly vulnerable and very pointed at myself and like kind of scary. And I was like, guess it's got to stay. And so that's the line in the fucking song.
Respect for keeping that in, whether it makes you gotta keep it in. I like that, even if it, whatever raw feeling you're feeling, you gotta keep that shit in there.
It's like, it's definitely like the only way I know how to be. Like, I'm very like, I've been through a lot of stuff, a lot of, queer folks, trans folks, marginalized folks, poor people, artists. We all go through a lot of bullshit. And sometimes just being like, oh no, I said the thing I meant in the way I wanted to say it. I guess like, what do I have to hide?
Exactly. I mean, as a fan, I mean, I like it. It comes out in the music. You get more of a raw, real person than, I don't know, if you start censoring your own thoughts like that, where it's like you might start taking out some of the best stuff if you start doing that. You know what I mean? If you overthink it like that.
Absolutely. And I like don't I definitely subscribe to like first thought, best thought. So
Yes.
like sometimes the most authentic, emotional, real thing is like the first thing you write. And sometimes you have to massage it and like it stays as the original idea, but like the words change or whatever. But sometimes you nail it and you're like, shit. Like, guess that's what it is now.
I want to talk about too, like, because you were talking about like the and I feel like I'm the same way with like the slowly processing things, like, oh shit, that's what I was feeling. I didn't realize it till way later and stuff. So I mean, I get what you're saying about processing things with your music, like, throughout time, be it songs, albums, even projects you've done. Like, does your relationship with them ever change throughout the years? Like, I mean, I know with some artists they do, and again, the specific songs, specific albums, even just a project you're doing. But like, is there anything that you think has kind of changed what it means to you over the years? Like, I mean, do you have anything like that? Because it almost sounds like it, where maybe what a song meant to you when you wrote it means something totally different 5 years later. Maybe there's even things you're catching on 5 years later that's like, oh fuck, I was writing about that, but I had no clue I was writing about that 5 years ago.
I mean, like the first Future Girls record, Motivation Problems, I didn't realize until that record that was done that was a linear, that album is a narrative about, coming to terms with the person that you are in less than ideal situations and feeling really hopeless about it. And so like when I was writing some of those songs, I was just like, yeah, this feels this way or whatever. And then years later, I'm just like, oh, that's absolutely a snapshot of like 2 or 3 years of really intense dysphoria before I fucking went to like realized what I had to do and go to therapy and figure the thing out. And it's just like, it's a trip. And I think my biggest takeaway lately has just been like, I don't know. So I loved all of the things I've done for different reasons over the course of time. Like, and things can happen in the interpersonal relationships with people and bands that it might sour something or make you feel weird about it or whatever. And it makes it, you almost have to detach from some of the feelings you had when you were creating it or what you're doing or like what the meaning was at that time. Like, and then sometimes songs like, for whatever reason, they continue to resonate and be accurate to like how I feel. Like, one of the songs in the Rumination Year set is the only song from the first tape. It's, like I like going through a lot of parts of the catalog or whatever. And it's a song called Shuffling of an Endless Deck. And I've played it live every set for the like every solo set for the last, since I started doing it in like 2019 or whatever. And it's like, this song is just still hits. It still hits the way that when I wrote it, I still feel feelings. I may not feel the exact feelings, but it kind of has grown with me a little bit. There's just like, there's a couple lines in it what I wrote and I was like, oh, that's clever. Like the end of the song is just, I'm so inconsistent in the day to day over and over and over again. It's like, yeah, I'm always like, I'm still inconsistent in the day to day. And so like, it's still, it still hits. It's funny though, because like when you were asking about like, would I be able to kind of put all my eggs in one basket and just do one thing and whatever? The solo stuff was kind of an outlet for things that didn't fit anywhere else. Like I put out a song a few weeks ago that I had written on the Tuesday, and then I mixed it and mastered it myself on the Wednesday and just put it out.
Holy shit.
Called I May Be a Bad Influence, but at least I'm not a fascist cuck. And I was like, oh, this is gonna get like fucking banned. Like, can I say cuck? Like, what? What are they? Do I need to censor the word fascist? Like, I don't know how to fucking do this. And I just put it out because like I didn't want to sit on it. I had a thing kind of happen that sucked, and the song is really just it's kind of a statement about like people who try to enforce like their ideological beliefs on you, or believe that like because you are say like a marginalized person or a queer person or whatever, in my case a trans person, that like their predetermined idea of you is so different than like how you actually are. And so like I forever was like, swearing in songs is lazy songwriting. You can punctuate things, sure, but like to just swear for the sake of swearing, like, come on, like you don't have to do that. And this song has more swear words in it than I've ever written in any song before, including my favorite line, which is, I wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire. And then the end of the song is just, you can get fucked, over and over and over again. And I'm like, yeah, that's how that feels.
I feel like because you're not doing that every song, it really drives the point home. If you're like, you gotta throw in a song where it's like, okay, fucking throw it in there. It's like, okay, you mean it that much more. If you're doing it for an entire album, fuck would start to lose its meaning. But if you're only doing it, when you really need to, when you pull that out, I feel like it has that much more power towards it.
And I would agree with that. And it's like a power pop song. It's it's not like it sounds like it could have been a Fat Stupid song or whatever. Like it's like that kind of thing. And so it's very fun, like especially in the set, because we play it in the set, and it's just like the songs, the songs that lead up to it, where it just like it kind of ends on this like down note right before it, with this like almost like a Sunny Day Real Estate breakdown part in the song and shit. It's like, it's really cool. And then it stops and there's just this huge drum roll and I sigh. And then the song starts. Just like using the sigh as a musical device, completely just like ripping off fucking Brendan Kelly, but like whatever.
That's fucking, that is, did that just come out? I think I missed this. When did this come out?
It just came out probably like 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. I
totally missed this.
And I kind of just like, sometimes I just like to put stuff out and see who notices or picks it up or whatever. And like it's funny because I did the artwork for it on my phone when the screen was broken. So there's a typo in the artwork that I've yet to go back to fix, and I will eventually do it. But I don't care. I don't care right now because I did it on a broken phone, and like the fact that I did it at all is remarkable to me. I did it on myself, so like, warts and all. And Exclaim is a music journalist, like a paper in Canada. It's like fairly respected and like well known. I don't know what the equivalent of it would be in the States. It's just like you can just pick it up. Like a lot of cities will have like their own city paper for like art stuff. And this is just kind of a Canada wide scope thing. And there's a chicken restaurant here called Mary Brown's Chicken. and they sponsor a playlist like once a month or once every 2 months called the A list, like EH. And the song ended up on that playlist, and the only other punk song is like a new fucked up song. So it's like stuff I have never heard before, and then the new fucked up song, and then my song, and I'm like, cool. Like I'm glad. It's like wild. I was like, somebody was paying attention, huh? And then
That's
like, it's also funny because like the one of the editors at Punk News, because Punk News is still a website. One of the editors at Punk News is a pal. I think that like she's fucking really cool, but and like has good taste and is always open to new stuff. But like very graciously, you know, she makes posts when I put new stuff up, and like people love to troll. It's wild. Like it's wild to me to think that somebody gets something out of just like, I don't know, being a jerk on the internet. Like the first comment was from somebody who was making fun of the title, and it said, "I may be a bad musician, but at least I remind you of Laura Jane Grace." And I was like, okay, that's like kind of transphobic and like low hanging fruit, and also like the fuck. And then I was like, I'm curious, and I like went in and I was looking at this person's other posts, and it was like shit talking the Mississippi medical stuff and being like, we need another Against Me record, stop having your wife sing, like all this stuff. I was like, oh, this guy just sucks. He just like, he hates everything. And like, I'm so fascinated with the fact that like somebody has so little going on in their life that they're willing to still like to comment on a fucking a free punk website. Like, are you still in 2005?
I gotta agree with you there. It's something I've never been able to wrap my head around. The people who I've just I don't have half the time. I don't even like any comment. I normally don't leave on things like to sit there and make it your thing to like go on Punk News or whatever it is, take your pick and just like talk shit and troll in the comments. It's the wildest shit to me. I don't have whatever that is in me to do that.
No, and I think there's a level of like, there's got to be a level of like dissatisfaction with some, like with yourself, to just be like,
I think so.
I hate my life or whatever, or like all this stuff. And it's just like, I'm going to try to tear someone down and make them feel as small as me. And it's like, dude, you have no idea what my day-to-day is like. You don't know that like, I'm going to make fun of this. You like, you're just giving me fodder. Like you're fueling, the thing in me that drives me to keep doing shit. Like you're fueling it. Like, I have really intense oppositional defiance. I suck in office settings. I hate being told, like, I hate like positions of authority from people I don't respect. Yeah. And like, it's not for me. It's not for me. And that's just like the same energy. The same person who's trolling on a website is the same person who's like, I don't know, just like so unhappy. They're just so unhappy.
I can tell you, as somebody who is one of the admins to the WRFA Facebook page, so I mean, I get to look at the comments section of a local radio Facebook page. Yes, like we have people who leave comments on every news story, just negative shit talking. And there's like a handful of them, and it's just like, it's the same thing. It's like, what do you do with your life? Do you sit on Facebook and wait for us to post local news so you can talk shit and troll in the comments? I just don't get it. I feel like there's better things to do with your life.
Well, it's just like, who do you think you're taking down? Like,
yeah, nobody. We're all making fun of it. Everybody at the radio station is like, yeah, that fucking idiot posted again. Delete it. Like,
there was a person for a minute on the exactly. There was a person a minute for on the Punk News page, like somebody who a bunch of things when I was putting a lot of stuff out, kept like I don't know, they just like made it their personal mission to make sure that like they commented on everything. Here is the irony of the whole thing. Their username was like "Learn to Swim," which is a lyric from a Tool song, and the picture was like from a Tool album. And I was like, this person is like, I wouldn't want to hang out with this person. This person doesn't go to shows that I go to. This person does not occupy the spaces I occupy. They're literally just like, I don't know, fucking making annoying comments on the internet and just like coming Cheeto dust at some point.
You have a great point there, and I've thought of this where like if like Paul Westerberg personally came to me and started just talking shit to my face or something, I would take that personally. Like if he said, you do a horrible radio show, this sucks, whatever, I would be hurt. But like what you're saying, if a guy would like a Slayer, like his name is like, a reference to a Slayer song or something, it's like, yeah, you're not into what I'm doing. Like, I don't give a shit if you're into it or not. Wrong demo. Like, I don't care. So I get what you're saying. It's like, yeah, random dude on the internet, don't give a shit. Now, if Paul Westerberg or someone I highly respect was like, yeah, what you do is bird shit. Oh yeah, okay. Now that may hurt me on a personal level.
Yeah, and then that would be a moment where you would be like, oh, this person has done things, and I should really evaluate. Like first and foremost, you'd have to be like, are they having a bad day? Are they serious about this? Was it like an off thing they heard once and then they just didn't fuck with it anymore? Like what is going on? And it's honestly like this shit's so laughable. Like Chris, I think it was either Chris or Fab from Talk Show Host told me that there was a demo for Mid-Century Modern before that didn't make the cut on the record called "Don't Read the Comment Section," and it's about that exact thing. It's just like, don't read the comment section.
I think that's sound advice. I think that's probably the best. I think normally that's probably the best thing. You won't find a bunch of I don't think you'll find great advice or like good life advice or any like helpful, productive things in the comments. I think best you're gonna I think worst case is really bad, and best case, I don't know if it's worth looking. I almost think, yeah, just don't look at the fucking comments.
But also, like, I'm such a masochist that it's like, oh, I want to know what shit people are talking about me.
I can't disagree. Easier said than done.
Absolutely.
But what do you? We've talked about it a little bit, but I mean, let's kind of give another rundown of what your fall kind of looks like, because I mean, this is coming out. This will be like first week of September. This will be out. Yeah, and I mean, we got new music for multiple projects from you. Again, you're going on tour with Crisis Party. Like, you got a bunch of stuff going on. Like, if you want to kind of roll out the next couple months, but you know what I mean, like the fall. What does September, October look like in the world of Matty Grace?
September 6th, Crisis Party are playing a show in Ottawa with friends of ours from Vancouver in this cool like gothy post-punk thing. The band's called Halt. So the cool thing with Crisis Party is because the band is, just me trying to do my best Wipers impression most of the time, like we can get away with playing with like hardcore bands or post-punk bands, or like we can kind of fit in different spots, and it's really nice. And then a couple of weeks later, we're going to do a run around Ontario. Probably by the time this comes out, we'll have a poster and stuff out. Like we're playing a show in Toronto with Imploders, who are like one of the coolest, like, did you ever listen to a Canadian hardcore band from a bunch of years ago called the Brutal Knights?
No, I've not heard of them.
Okay, so Brutal Knights are rad, but their front person, Nick Flanagan's a comedian, so it's a lot of like tongue-in-cheek stuff. And Imploders are very much like the spiritual successor to the Brutal Knights. So we're playing a show with those guys, and they're like, some of them used to be in bands like Out of Control or did a split with their old band Pink Wine. Like we go way back. So it's like, yeah, let's do this. And then at the end of September, there is a show. A friend of ours is having a 40th birthday party, so he is renting a boat and putting a bunch of bands on a boat. And then we're doing an after party at House of Targ, and Zeal and Crisis Party are playing the after party for that. So it's like sick. We get to like play our friend's birthday party and go see like Beton Armée and some bands on a boat, which is pretty cool. And so I think that's it for September. I'm going to see the Hives and Bad Nerves, because the Bad Nerves record is really awesome, but we're going to go see the Hives.
Rules.
Yeah, so Hives are touring with Bad Nerves, and they're playing like the week before we go on tour in Toronto. So gonna hopefully scope that out. The Hives are kind of a bucket list band, so like I'm excited to see that. And so that's kind of that. October, I have a solo show on the 5th, the day before my birthday, with Davey performing as male nurse, Davey playing in Rumination here. And then the other thing in October is Varning Fest, and Zeal and Crisis Party are both playing Varning in Montreal. Hopefully in and around there, Zeal has 4 new songs that I'm going to demo for us. I'm going to engineer them, and we're going to figure out what to do with them. Just the last record is cool, but like, there's just some stuff about it that I would change if I could. And like, if I was able to have my hands in it a little more, like, I think because Zeal's a really collaborative and like a very democratic band. And I feel like with that, if I record us, we all get a say. We can all make sure we're happy with it, and we can like go from there. And that's very like, that's real cool. So sometime Zeal's going to try to record. Crisis Party's recording with Jordy from the Creeps and Crusades at the end of November. And I think that's kind of the big stuff. I mean, who knows? Like, it seems like stuff kind of pops up regularly. I want to see if I can maybe pull together something for Trans Day of Remembrance in November, like some kind of show. And like, I'm sure there'll be like straight up solo shows spaced in there. I'm playing one next week at a coffee shop for that's a benefit for a place here called the Trans Library, which is like a really excellent resource for like, there's a lot of books, but they also do like group things for youth. And like, I've played some shows that have worked as like benefits for it before. And just like, it's really important. And like, they're not really, it's not like they're getting like government funding to exist. So they need, you want to support the things in your community that make a difference. And so like, if every 3 or 4 months I play a benefit for the Trans Library, I'll fucking play it every time. Like,
oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of it. Depending on how I figure out my holiday plans, maybe I'll do a show in Halifax or something, but like, I don't really know what I'm doing yet. I haven't, I've been in such a on again, off again slump, just like trying to bounce back. The unwellness I mentioned earlier was very like, is very tied to burnout, and is very tied to like, I'm doing a lot all the time, and I'm not resting enough, and like doing a bunch of shit. And so I come in these waves where it's like, everything feels good. I'm like doing it. And then like, it kind of dips again. And so I'm just trying to be gentle with myself and like brace myself for when I'm in the dips. And, if the only shows that I play, like if we play Varning and I don't play a show again until like Christmas time or whatever, that's fine. Like, I'm going to record a full length The Crisis Party at the end of November. Probably should focus on that a little bit. Like, and then, yeah, so I think that's kind of it for the next few months. I want to do more touring next year, but like, and I'll have some records out that I can kind of get behind that. And like, I don't know. Crisis Party was talking about going to Europe. That might be the move, is because like crossing into the States legally is incredibly expensive and really like prohibitively expensive.
Which is a bummer. To see you here more.
I know. I would love to. You're also not that far from me, right? Like, you're in Buffalo?
I'm 90 minutes south of Buffalo, and like even when you were talking about playing with like Laura and Hamilton, I think Hamilton's like 2.5 hours at most from me. Like I forget about the border. When I'm in Buffalo, I sometimes accidentally almost go to Canada by taking wrong fucking exits. Like, so yes, I'm very close to Canada.
I mean, that's the thing. We're so close. And it's like American bands can come to Canada and they're just like, have a good time, you know? Like, please come share your culture with our multicultural whatever.
Not the same when you try to come down here.
No, they are like, you're coming to take our jobs. And I was like, are your jobs? It's like, we're creating jobs. Like, do you think that the person who's working the door for the basement show we're going to play in Philadelphia or whatever is like, do you think that they wouldn't have? How else are they going to get $40? Like, I don't understand. And they're like, their logic is just so like, it doesn't matter what level of band you are, you owe the same amount and all this shit. And I'm just like, oh, I'd really love to go play the States again. And maybe, there was talk many, many years ago, like 3 presidents ago, of getting rid of that because it's all tied into Homeland Security, but they make so much money from it that they can't afford to give it up. So
fucked up.
Yeah, it sucks. And then it's just like, oh yeah, like we could easily tour the States. We have lots of pals and lots of people that would hook things up, and like, it would be really fun. And we're just like, no. But then like also if the right opportunity thing, if somebody was like, hey, do you want to do like a long run and fill in for us? I'd get my visa and make it work. Like, if it just, for my bands, like it ends up being this like hugely prohibitive cost. But like, if it was something like, well, I have to do that.
Yeah.
Like,
there's no getting away with not doing this.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not letting anything stop me from doing this.
Understand. And I mean, it's so frustrating because, yeah, I mean, again, I can't stress enough. Like, I mean, if people are listening elsewhere, it's like, yeah, I mean, Canada's right there. I mean, I can see the bridge, or if I'm in Niagara Falls, I mean, you can walk across the border there. Like, so yeah, it's fucking nuts to then hear if you just simply want to play a show across the border. Nope, sorry, can't do it, or at least without not making it a fucking nightmare. That really fucking sucks.
It's a bummer, and it's the same. Like, I'm not a person that's really like stoked on the industry aspects of music. It's just like some of it is just so like, yeah, okay, you got to play the game, and the other part of it is just like, this is so cringy and exploitative and weird and all this shit. And then it's like, oh, these are people who only listen to the radio. They don't realize there's other things in the world. They don't realize that there are small bands, and their favorite band probably started off as a small band, unless they're like, like an exception, right? Like,
yeah.
But
at some point they would have been assholes to their favorite band trying to get over when they were like playing the club circuit or dive bars or something. They've been fucking assholes to them when they were trying to get over to play before the arenas.
Yeah, like how many times do you think a band like Pup has been hassled crossing the border?
I can believe it.
Like, I imagine that like their first bunch of tours, especially when it's like, we're going on tour with Off With Their Heads. Oh, who are you touring with? Like,
yeah, then you try to explain that. I mean, do you not like, do you not listen to punk? It's fucking Off With Their Heads, man. But yeah, there's no getting that through. You're right. I feel like they do. They just think you fucking are playing. You're making money hand over fist, and you're coming in to like play arenas or something. It's like that. No, no.
I'd be more likely to make money if I was touring as somebody's tour manager than I would be if I was going to play shows. And like, it's funny because like on the note of the like, just not fully grasping it or whatever. I was talking to I sent my dad the Cheap Shame record because I was like, oh, this is good. Maybe he'll like it. Because like, I don't know, there's still part of me that's still like curious what my parents think that I do. Just out of curiosity. And I sent him the record and he's like, oh, this is really good. I really like it. Like all these really high compliments. And I was like, oh, I felt very flattered. I was like, oh, well, also, like, I just got back from Vancouver and Zeal played this festival. And he goes, oh, what's Zeal? And I was like, oh, it's like, well, I don't think you'll like it. And he's like, well, what? What's it sound like? And I was like, I don't know how specific I can be. And he's like, well, try. And I was like, I don't know. Like, we're like Motorhead loud, but with none of the blues and more of a like barking grunt, angry voice thing. And then he's like, oh, and in the chat that we had, I sent him the Zeal record because he's like, send it to me. And I sent him the record and he just ghosted me. I was like, I told you wouldn't like it.
Oh, no.
I was just like, and then it's like, I'm like, I told you would not care for this.
There's nothing worse. Your dad leaves you on red for fucking, hey, how's the new album? What do you think about the new album? Just leaves you on red. Oh, no.
I mean, you know what? The fact that we talked about it at all is absolutely an improvement considering the state our relationship could be in. So taking it as a win regardless. But it is hilarious to me being like, I'm telling you right now, you're not going to enjoy this. And then he's just like, like, you know, my dad's like, he's a sweet dude, but he's like kind of crunchy on the outside a little bit. And I'm just like, oh, you'd have to admit that I was right. You'd have to admit I was right. Like,
nice. You know, we got quite a bit coming up from you. Where do we where should we send people online here? That's probably the best thing to say. I mean, we've kind of done a rundown of everything, but now to like keep track of Matty Grace and, you know, as it all kind of rolls out, where do we find you online? Where do we find the music as well? I mean, I know you got a couple Bandcamp pages and stuff for everything. I mean, pretty much everything's on Spotify or Apple Music or Tidal or whatever. Zeal is only available on Bandcamp, on the Broken Skull Records Bandcamp for now. I think the best way is probably as like, sorry, it's apparently very late here. I guess Instagram, I don't know. It's always weird to be like, follow me on Instagram, but like it's the only social media I like use most of the time. Sometimes I'll go on Twitter and just make like little obnoxious comments or sorry, I dead names Twitter. Oh no. But yeah, like I'll do like stuff like that, or I tried to like dip my toes into TikTok and I'm like, it's not for me. It's just not for me. I can't myself too. I still haven't. I just don't feel like I can make videos like that. I don't know if it's like I don't have the right kind of younger person in my life to show me how to do it. Like I'm at that stage of like technology where it's like I'm pretty good with stuff, and they're like, okay, grandma, like here's how you make a reel, and you're like, oh shit, I know nothing. Like I literally just want everything to look like it's a VHS tape. Like so yeah, Instagram at Matty Disgrace is probably the move. There's a link tree on there with a bunch of stuff. I'm very easily Googleable. If people don't fuck up spelling my name, I'm very easily Googleable. And also like, I don't know, fucking, if people like stuff, reach out and tell me and like be like, hey, it would be cool if you came here or something. Like I'm always open to like talking to people and making new pals and like finding connections across whatever. And like that's the thing about punk that I love and I've forever like adhered to is like the idea of like punk as community and like showing up for each other and like, knowing in the back of my head that like if I was fairly like pretty much anywhere in the world, no matter how fucked I was in a situation, I could message one or two people and at least be put in a direction where I could like be sent to safety or whatever. And it's like, people don't get that. Like that's rad and invaluable and is like improves your life. But these are the same people that like
I don't know, see tattoos or colored hair or whatever, and they're still just like, oh my God. And it's like what? Like, there are so many things that have been ongoing for the last bunch of years. Like, you know, even just starting when, beginning of pandemic or whatever, like 2020. There are so many things that have happened in this span of time where like time doesn't feel real and everything is totally like fluid and confusing, and like Generation X was so cool with being apathetic to everything and took it on as such a lifestyle that now Nazis are okay again. Like, what? And then we talked about this at band practice tonight, but there's been a lot of things that have happened and a lot of things that are going on currently in the world. Big scale, awful things that in 15 or 20 years, people are going to be like, oh yeah, no, I definitely was at those protests. It was like, no, you were on the wrong side of history for a long time until you learned that when everyone else was like, no, you're being a, whatever, you're being a piece of shit for this reason. You are being a bigot. You are doing whatever. And people being like, why would you do that ever? It's like, oh, I never did that. And it's like, absolutely. And I'm going to remember all of you. I'm going to remember all of you and call you out on it when it's like, hey, yeah, remember when you had that really sus take on that thing and everybody thought you were awful? Well, sounds like you learned a lesson, but maybe the hard way.
Yeah. I mean, and there's probably going to be a trail left over too, an online trail where it's like, yeah, you probably have evidence to be like, yeah, you were being a piece of shit, and it's right here.
Yeah, it's and like absolutely, and I like absolutely am a person who believes that people are capable of growth and change if they want to, and people can learn from their mistakes, and like those are part of the human experience is that we are imperfect and we fuck up all the time, but also there's a lot of things where you're like, it's like if you don't even have to apply like full level critical thinking skills. You can just like kind of think about it a bit and be like, well, that seems wrong, and then like move on or figure it out or like stop sucking about it. And then you're like, so many of these people just like don't. Like, I can't imagine. It's the thing we were talking about with the comment thread.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being a person or in a position in life where I'm not actively trying to be a better person all the time.
Yeah, it's a weird reaction to life when you want to be shitty to others. Like that's your reaction to things is I'm going to now outwardly aim it at everybody, and you're all going to feel whatever it is I'm feeling inward. I'm going to make you all feel like shit, or at least try,
I mean,
at least try to.
Exactly. Like, I was bullied a lot growing up, like really hard, really awfully, really aggressively, like awful, atrocious, terrible things. And it's just, I've seen it. I've seen how like people are just bullies. And it's like, yeah, okay, so your circumstances are less than ideal. They've helped shape you into this person that feels like you've been done wrong by the world. So you need to bring other people down to your level and you need to make them feel as shitty as you feel. Or you could just like, I'm a big proponent of the idea of like radical kindness. Like, there's a difference between kindness and like, being taken advantage of, I guess. But like the idea of like radical kindness to me is just like you go into a situation assuming best intentions and you give somebody the benefit of the doubt and you treat them the way that you would want to be treated. And then depending on their reaction, that's how you respond in kind. And like some of these people, it's just like, dude, you need a hug. And half of these people, it's just like, wow, you're mad because you've repressed these like queer urges so long that now you're an outward bigot. And it's like, dude, you could just like go jerk your friend off fucking behind the shed and be cool with it. No one would care. And you'd probably be like less mad.
I don't think you're wrong. I truly do. Like, I think that tends to be the thing where it's like, yeah, whatever you're going so crazy against, it's like, there's a reason why you're going so that hard on something. There's a reason for it, because normally people don't act like that. There's normally more there when you're getting that vocal and that angry and that against something. I do feel like there's normally something kind of happening, you know, underneath you're not willing to accept or think about.
If you have enough of a personal tie to something that you're not willing to let it go,
yes,
why can't you let it go?
I think you're absolutely right on that one. I've always felt that way. Yeah, you can normally tell what really affects someone by their reaction to it. And yeah, when that's your reaction, you should probably look at yourself for a while and maybe work inwardly instead of being a shithead to everybody.
You know what? Like, and it's hard work. It's hard and it's thankless. And the only like payoff you get is that you have to be okay with the fact that you're developing skills how to not burn bridges with every person you meet. And some people just want money, or they just want a feeling of superiority, or they just want, you know, whatever. And like, obviously I'm a queer person existing in a subculture, so I have like different values than a lot of that stuff. But like, also I've just never understood not just like, just be chill. Just be chill. Let your actions speak for themselves. And like, then sometimes you get a platform where you can talk for an hour and 20 minutes and just be like, blah, 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 blah. But like, you know, you treat people the way you want to be treated. And if they don't treat you back that way, then either they can fuck off or you can avoid them. Like it's like not worth engaging with this shit. And so many things are hard and bad and awful. And you still have to find like the joy in things to like survive. So you're not just like a curmudgeon who doesn't leave their house.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. Like, it's a really hard balance to strike, but like having community and having good friends and like, doing things that feel meaningful to me, they don't take all the sharp edges off, but they cork them a little bit, you know?
People need to listen to this. If you're listening to this and you don't know how to deal with your shit, deal with it that way. It may not be fun, but deal with your shit, and then it'll be better for everybody. If we all dealt with our own shit, we'd all be cool to each other. Everything would be so much cooler if everyone dealt with their own shit first. If we're going out into public and acting the way they do.
No, exactly. And like, deal with your shit and like share the things you've learned with people so that they maybe feel comfortable like dealing with their shit. And like, everybody takes, so like a lot of folks take things as this like, everything is so deeply personal all the time, where like people are feeling constantly, you know, a lot of folks are like, oh, I feel attacked or whatever. Like, they take everything so personally. And like, I get that. I'm guilty of that. I get, you know, somebody says a weird, mean, shitty thing about me, or like misgenders me a bunch, and then like laughs about it, which happened a couple of weeks ago or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I feel bad. Like, it sucks. It feels bad. But like, I feel for like the people in their life. Like, oh, I hope you don't have a partner. I hope you don't have somebody that you're also taking this shit out on.
Yeah.
Like that's and like having that scope of it helps you kind of depersonalize it a little bit, where you're like, this person probably is this shitty to everybody in their life, whether they know it or not. And if they don't know it, that's way worse. It's way worse.
I think you're absolutely right about that. Yeah. I mean, if somebody, I don't know, if someone cuts you off in traffic and yells "fuck you" out the window, just know they didn't single you out. That person's an asshole, and you're wrong place, wrong time. They're doing that to everybody. Like, and it probably
you were caught in the crossfire.
Yes. Nothing. It's not you personally.
Just
you
like,
have to be there.
Yeah, you happen to be the bot. Like, you know, I bartend. It's the job is professionally shooting the shit, and sometimes you fucking deal with people who are having a bad day, and you're the first point of contact and they choose violence. And like, you could have just said, oh, hey, I'm having a hard day or whatever. And like, I would have been really like kind of compassionate. Or you could be a total douchebag and I will just make fun of you behind your back to my coworkers for the rest of the night.
Don't be an asshole, people. Quit being fucking assholes. I think that's the best. I think that's the best advice I think either of us can give. If anybody learned anything from this, because actually you didn't drop too many more wrestling references. We did talk about being an asshole.
Well, I mean, okay, so let me see if there's any I got on like a quick last minute. I'm drawing a blank. But there's got to be, you know, there's a metaphor in the idea. We'll trace back to the Hulk Hogan thing. There's a metaphor in the idea that somebody who was considered an American hero is behaving the way they are now. It's like, oh, you were that way all the time.
Yes.
It was just you didn't keep up with the times and do the work to grow and change. And you're one of those people now who's like, I liked things better in my day. And it's like, of course you did. You're a white dude with incredible privilege and you were a fucking millionaire.
Yeah, of course.
Probably a billionaire. Hogan had a weird like money contract in WCW where he made a lot of money and could like there's it's on HBO Max and it's a docu-series called The Death of WCW. And it's WCW was a company based in Atlanta, Georgia, run by Ted Turner in the late 90s, or I guess started in the early 90s, taking over for a more like regional promotion. And it became a big thing. It was like WWE's main competitor. And when you watch it, you're just like, wow, there's a lot of like broken down white guys with really, really, really padded bank accounts who are really, really, really bitchy about this thing.
I will have to watch some wrestling. I'll have to watch this documentary.
Yeah.
And then I think the cleanser of all that is then I'm going to go watch you do you said the full set with you and Laura. I'll go watch the cleanser afterwards.
Yeah, do it. I mean, if you want a recommendation for something to be like, oh, this is why I like wrestling. There was a company based in Philadelphia called ECW in the 90s. And there was a wrestler on that roster named Rob Van Dam. And he's so cool. And like, I met him when I was a kid. He's just like, his whole gimmick was that he smoked weed because it's not a gimmick because he just smokes weed all the time. He has a podcast and he just like rolls joints during it. It's fucking awesome. But he has a match with this guy, Jerry Lynn, and they had a series of matches, but they were all like awesome, like very, for context, that style of match set the tone for what modern day pro wrestling has become, because that match led into this company Ring of Honor and the style that they developed, and it just kind of all trickled down. So like if you want to see where like the cool shit that's like happening right now with like AEW and stuff, which is like kind of a big company, it's owned by the guy who owns the Jacksonville Jaguars, weirdly enough. I don't know, but like, yeah, the whole thing, this weird like modern day pro wrestling resurgence or whatever, absolutely started there.
Well, damn, of all the things I thought we were going to talk about, I didn't know we'd talk about wrestling, and I'm happy we did.
Good. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, Matty, have we missed anything? Is there anything else we should let people know before we close this out? Obviously, we'll play a bunch of your music. If you're listening to the radio show, we'll play a shit ton of music and all that. But I don't know, any closing words, closing statements? Have we missed anything?
I mean, realistically, probably. But I think we checked all of the main boxes. Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. If you pay attention to the thing that's going on in your city and your scene and your community, then you can support, grassroots homegrown stuff as they succeed and grow. And then you can feel like, kind of a part of, you're along for the ride. I have said for a long time, I any chances or opportunities or like things that I'm given or whatever, I don't like, I want to take people with me. I don't want to like go hang out at the top or at the whatever level it is or whatever by myself. Like, no, that's no fun. Like, give a shit and tell your friends you love them. That's what I'll say.
I fucking love it. That's a good. I can't say anything better than that. That is really good right there, Matty. Great talking to you. I think a very strong third appearance. I'm sure the fourth one will. That's inevitable. I'm sure the fourth, fifth, whatever. We'll keep having you back. You're always a blast to talk to. But yeah, I'm Anthony Merchant talking to Matty Grace. No matter how you're listening to this or watching this, thanks for listening and watching. Yeah, you're tuned in to the Power Chord Hour.